For professional angler Greg Hackney, finding fish is not always hard, but finding the right sized fish can be a challenge. In this segment of Louisiana Sportsman TV, Hackney shows the tips and tricks he uses to find larger fish.
Swamp bass out there, Jerry. Duck blind fish a little bigger than them in that grass. Ooh, he eat that jig. May just be a timing deal now. The fish are coming out from under that stuff because he wasn't underneath. He was out on the edge.
While fishing grass mats earlier in the day, Hackney was able to get on a good bite. The fish he caught were averaging a small size, so Hackney decided to change tactics and move on to fishing duck blinds. He also changed over to a larger bait, a 1/2 ounce Hack Attack flipping jig.
Now that one caught it on the fall. I picked up, he was running off with it. So we got us a jig bite now going on some duck blinds. I'm just running isolated cover trying to catch a better fish. The first one I caught, was a big one, but we fish that grass. I got lots of bites flipping, but I never got any of those bigger bites. This morning, it seemed like those fish are a little more affected by that cold wind, and it's warmed up this afternoon, and all those fish this morning were deep, way back in something, under something, way back. And like that fish is on the very outside of the pole, caught the bait falling. It's like now, later in the day, it stayed cloudy. It's like finally the weather's catching up with them. Big bass pattern on them duck blinds. Damn, I don't know if he's hooked very good or not. Before I swing him over, yeah, he's good. Yes, sir. We have figured out how to get a quality bite. It's all about that duck blind and that 1/2 ounce black and blue jig. Just a totally different fish from the fish we've been, caught on those mats. A lot of fish in the grass, but definitely the bigger fish seem to be on hard cover, on isolated cover. These fish were probably under that stuff, under those blinds this morning, and now they're out on the edge and they're biting. They're knocking the slack in the line on that jig. So, I'm trying to be real thorough. All these duck blinds are a little different. This one here has some hyacinth and some other weeds blown in on it. Some of the other ones, were just straight wood. Another thing is, especially when I get around where they're dilapidated, I'm feeling out there. Like that first big one I caught was on a piece of cover that I couldn't see. And so what I'm doing, I'm pitching up there to all the visual, and then I'm fishing that bait back to the boat because I'm feeling that wood, those outside. And that first one, I come over a piling or something off of that blind that was out there under the water, and that's where I got bit. Anytime you get around where they're broke down, and a lot of these blinds have been here for years, and you can tell by looking at them, and a lot of times they rebuild them. So there'll be pieces of that old blind out there under the water, but main thing is just being real thorough. And what I had planned on when I started fishing them, the jig was my first choice just because that's such a great way to catch. It's a big fish bait, and it's real efficient. But if I hadn't, that would be the other thing. I'd have 3 or 4 baits, a spinner bait, a worm, some other stuff to try if I didn't get bit, and to be real thorough. I can rotate around through all these blinds, let them rest. By the time I get, let's say, out of most of them, turn around and start over and do it again. And a lot of times you can pick up a few more fish.
Bowie Outfitters is your one-stop shop for all types of outdoor cooking. Tailgating? We've got Bayou Classic barbecue pits and King Cooker jambalaya pots. If frying's your favorite, check out R&D Works Cajun Fryers and Cajun Injector products to keep meat moist and flavorful. Black iron skillets are key in a southern kitchen, and Bowie carries a big selection of Lodge cast iron, plus Bayou Classic pots for your next crawfish boil. Come to Bowie Outfitters and let us get you cooking. Bowie Outfitters, everything outdoors.
Randy Montgomery. I've been making my living with Strike King products for a long time. So when they showed me the new Tour Grade line, I was all in. I knew I could trust it. What I didn't know was how easy it was to use. With the spooling tool and the prepaid envelope to recycle your old line included in every single box. Not only is it the best line on the market, it gives you the easiest fishing experience possible. Find out more at StrikeKing.com.
We rise at 4 a.m., driven by an overwhelming passion. We're driven by the beasts that roam the waters of this great country. We don't think about stress, or bills, or Monday. We're fishermen, always ready. And as for the gear we hold, trust is everything. Never again should you sacrifice strength for style. The Team Lose Pro TI Speed Spool. Built for anything you set the hook on.
You know, basically, when I pitch that bait in there, the initial fall, I want it to free fall. You know, I don't want and it doesn't matter if it's in a crack, like I'm dropping it in that crack, or, but I want it to fall all the way to the bottom on a completely slack line. So it's natural. And what's happening, when that jig falls like that, and that rage crawl on the back of it, it's just, and them legs are just like it's swimming to the bottom, you know, it's just super natural. And then basically what I do after that is I hop it up first on the bottom, and then when you have all that cover like that, a lot of those fish will suspend. So I hop it on the bottom, and then I start fishing it up, and every time I lift, I'm picking up line with the reel. So I'm fishing that bait higher, higher, higher. I get back to the surface, I pull it out and pitch back in again. So it just depends, because like these with that have all that grass around them, I'm fishing vertical, straight up and down next to the stuff, because a lot of that stuff is way out around the blind. But like those blinds that I fished that were dilapidated and broke down, you know, I was staying back and I was finding that stuff under the water. But the problem with these that have the stuff blown up around them, they've covered that up. You know, most of that cover is under the vegetation. You know, we came out to fish some isolated cover, and the bait I used was a 1/2 ounce black and blue hack attack flipping jig, matched with a matching rage crawl trailer. That's dominantly the trailer that I use most of the time when I'm flipping a jig. It just disturbs a lot of water. One thing I do is, you can see the segments. I bite off the top 2. And what that does is shorten it up. And then I thread the rage crawl on the hook. And it just makes a beefy, compact lure. It's not long, but it's beefy. It's got a lot of beef to it. And the deal is, it's just great for flipping isolated targets, logs, cypress trees. And the other cool thing about a jig is you don't miss a lot of fish on a jig. You just catch the majority of the ones that bite it. Something about the hook being attached to the head. Now, I was using 50-pound torque braid, and this is a 710 flipping stick. This is a little bit lighter flipping stick than I punch with. And the reason for that is I'm using a little bit, you know, lighter weight. I really like a lighter rod when I'm 3/8 to 3/4 ounce, you know, with a jig. I like to be able to feel that jig and crawl it over that stuff out there, and a softer rod helps that. But I love braid. And typically, most of the time, I use 50-pound. I just feel like it's just real efficient, and it works the jig really well. Lou's Custom Speed Spool Reel. It's a Custom Pro, 8-to-1 gear ratio. My hack attack flipping stick, one of the many. And you know, just being real thorough, you know, was really the key today, was just taking those duck blinds apart, whether they had floating grass or, you know, there wasn't any floating grass, just feeling for every little piece of brush around it, any pieces of board, anything that fell off of the duck blind, the whole key to catching those quality bites today. Well, you know, basically we started off this morning. We figured out a way to generate a bunch of bites, but we were not catching any quality fish. And, you know, a lot of times it's hard to leave biting fish, but that's really what we had to do to try to catch a quality fish. When we got out here, started running after some more isolated cover, isolated patches of grass, you know, duck blinds, and them big ones showed up. You know, we were throwing a big fish bait. Nothing beats a jig for catching big fish, fall of the year, cool weather. So the next time you're getting a lot of bites, change up a little bit. Sometimes it can be simple as just a bait change. Sometimes it's completely changing areas, but I think if you give that a try, it'll help you out. We'll see you next time on Sportsman TV.